convinced that it was a terrible mistake to go along with Oslo. I had very little doubt that this was his historical assessment. I must say that, like my good friend Edward Said, he and I, simultaneously, without any coordination, were the first one to write a day after the Oslo Accord that this is a fiasco and it's going to end in a disaster. And I think we were absolutely right about that.
I want to apologize for taking you over time. I understand you must be exhausted on your third day of a well-controlled flight to Vancouver this evening, so I'm sorry to take you further. But actually, it's not even a question, but also rather a suggestion for people in the audience, including myself, that this event be reported in the Calgary and the national media, and that at least one person each should take it upon themselves for each member of the media, for each print media, for each television media, that this event should be reported tonight. It's a long way for you to come, and it's the least we can do to write articles and to report it, because frankly I think everyone needs to know that Abu Mazen cannot compete with the Dalai Lama, and it's not a conflict between an elephant and a mouse. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for a wonderful lecture that's very, very illuminating and very personal. What I wanted to ask was just one basic question. And I ask not for immediate reactions, because I have them in myself when I mention these names, but when George Bush and Condoleezza Rice speak about the state of Palestine, we are going to have the state of Palestine. What do you make of this? Is this just rhetoric? What is this that they are saying?
Yes, it's an excellent question. As far as I understand the way American presidents talk, especially this very eloquent American president, he doesn't have 3 hiccups in one sentence. I feel sort of relieved. Now, as far as I understand, there's very little that he is allowed to say by his own volition. I'm sure in his case this is particularly correct. So I would think that someone had thought about it in his team, what he should say. I think he will agree with me. I mean, it's not something that comes naturally to him. And thank you. I think that the people who tell him to say a state think of something which they have worked out with the Israelis as an acceptable formula that would fail any examination, for instance, in the theoretical books in political science about what a state is, but satisfies the international discourse about the question of Palestine, which anyway is a very unique discourse, which has no parallel in any other part of the world. So when you say a state in, let's say, in Indonesia, an independent state for someone in Indonesia, you are really talking about a state. But when you talk about the state for the Palestinians, everybody understands that the state would be divided, first of all, to 2 enclaves, that Israel would control the connection between these 2 enclaves, that state would have no independent foreign policy, no independent security policy, that part of that enclave, the West Bank, would be divided to 12 cantons disconnected from each other, that the border of that state, the eastern border of that state, would be controlled by Israel. The airspace of that state would be controlled by Israel, and basically the economy would be monitored by Israel. As I say, it stretches one's imagination to see which theoretician of statehood would ever define that as a state. So I think that's what lies behind it. It's the big lie. They talk about a state which is not, it's a stateless state, you know, it's like coffee without. But that would be American, isn't it? Decaf. It's something that only Americans you can have coffee without coffee. I never understood this notion, and I detest this invention. A state would be a deep coffee maker.